You think this is nothing, and that's exactly why it has power over you. It's the quiet hum beneath the noise of your day, the low-grade fever of the soul that you've learned to call normal. This isn't a sudden storm, it's a change in the climate of your own mind. You dismiss it as just another Tuesday, another late night, another moment of being a little off. But these moments are not isolated islands. They are a chain, a hidden archipelago of exhaustion you navigate every single day without a map. You tell yourself it's just stress, just fatigue, just life. But this dismissal is a form of self-betrayal, a quiet agreement you've made to ignore your own internal weather report, even as the barometer continues to fall. Not every form of suffering announces itself. Some don't even ask for attention. They just quietly start changing how you move through your own life. They are the subtle thieves, stealing fractions of your energy, your focus, your joy. They don't break down the door. They enter through the keyhole you left open, night after night. This is the suffering of accumulation. It doesn't arrive with a bang, but with a whisper, repeated so often it becomes the background silence. It's the slow, almost imperceptible tightening of a knot inside you. You don't notice its presence, but you feel its effects in everything you do. The hesitation before you speak, the slight dimming of the world's colors, the feeling that you are perpetually wading through water that is just an inch too deep. You are still functioning. That's the dangerous part, because nothing looks wrong from the outside. So you keep ignoring what it feels like from the inside. You meet your deadlines, you answer the emails, you show up. Your performance becomes the perfect alibi for your exhaustion. From the outside, you are a testament to resilience. But on the inside, you are running on fumes, borrowing energy from a future you're not even sure you have the strength to meet. This high-functioning despair is the most insidious kind because it rewards you for your own disappearance. As long as the machine runs, no one asks about the ghost in it. And you, the ghost, have learned not to make a sound. The Stoics trained for catastrophe. They prepared for loss, exile, collapse. They built fortresses in their minds for sieges, for the grand dramatic tests of character. But no one trained you for the slow erosion of almost fine. No one wrote a manual for the tyranny of the mundane, for the quiet damage inflicted by 1,000 tiny paper cuts to the soul. They taught you how to face the lion in the arena, but not how to endure the endless hum of the fluorescent lights in a silent office. They prepared you for the breaking point, but not for the slow, grinding process of being worn down, day by a life that is not terrible, but is not quite right either. And the worst part? You can't even name it without feeling dramatic. So you stay silent, and silence is where it grows. To say, "I am struggling," feels like a lie when your life, on paper, is stable. You have no great tragedy to point to, no epic battle to report. There is only this quiet weight, this unnamed thing. So you swallow the words. You edit your own story until it's more comfortable for others to hear and for you to tell. But this silence is not empty. It is a fertile ground. In the quiet, the exhaustion puts down roots. It becomes part of your architecture, the invisible scaffolding holding you up, even as it slowly pulls you apart from within. Marcus Aurelius was not writing from greatness. He was writing from pressure. Not the pressure of war, the pressure of continuity, of having to respond again and again and again. He was not fighting emperors every hour. He was fighting interruptions, irritation, disappointment, the kind no one records in history books. And you recognize it, don't you? That strange fatigue that doesn't come from crisis, but from repetition. Stoicism teaches acceptance. But acceptance becomes harder when nothing dramatic happens. And yet everything still feels heavy, because there is no moment you can point to and say, "This is the reason I feel like this." Water never breaks stone in a moment. It wins by returning. It doesn't arrive with the force of a tidal wave, but with the quiet, relentless persistence of the tide itself. Each wave is insignificant, a whisper against the rock. But the whispers accumulate. Over seasons, over centuries, they become a chorus that reshapes the very coastline. This is the power of accumulation, a force so subtle it operates beneath the threshold of our attention. It doesn't announce its work. It simply performs it day after day until the change is undeniable and irreversible. And your life is no different. It is not shaped by one decision, but by thousands of almost identical ones you stopped noticing. The decision to check your email one more time before bed. The choice to say it's fine when it isn't. The habit of pushing through fatigue instead of resting. Each one feels like nothing, a single drop of water on the stone of your resilience. You don't register them as choices anymore. They have become reflexes, the automatic script of your daily existence. You believe you are navigating your life, but in reality, you are being steered by a current of habits you no longer see. The ancient world understood this better than language can explain. That endurance is not dramatic. It is repetitive. It is the olive tree holding fast against the ceaseless wind, not in one heroic stand, but in a million tiny adjustments of its branches, a constant negotiation with the air. True strength wasn't found in the grand gesture, but in the quiet, uncelebrated act of continuing. It is the farmer sowing the same field, the potter turning the same wheel, the sentry walking the same wall. The heroism is in the repetition itself, the commitment to the process when the outcome is distant and uncertain. You don't break when something big happens. You break when nothing big happens for too long, and you keep carrying everything anyway. A crisis is a clear enemy. It gives you a target for your strength, a reason for your struggle. But the slow grinding pressure of the mundane offers no such clarity. It's the endless stream of demands, the constant low-level hum of responsibility, the feeling of being perpetually behind on a race with no finish line. This is the state of modern exhaustion. It's not a collapse. It's a slow leak of vitality. So gradual you mistake it for the normal cost of living. No one counts the small losses, the half-second frustrations, the muted disappointments, the micro-adjustments you make just to keep going. The moment your shoulders tense when a certain name appears on your phone, the flicker of weariness when you agree to one more small task, the quiet sigh you swallow in a meeting. These are the missing tiles in the mosaic of your life. Individually, they are nothing, but their absence creates a pattern of its own, a pattern of erosion, of a self slowly being worn away by 1,000 unrecorded concessions. But they add up, quietly, without permission, until the weight feels normal, and that's when it becomes hardest to notice. The burden becomes a part of your posture. The tension becomes the baseline state of your muscles. The mental fog becomes your ordinary weather. You forget what it felt like to be light, to move without this invisible resistance. This is the final, most insidious stage of accumulation, when the abnormal has become so constant that it has successfully disguised itself as you, and you can't fight an enemy you can no longer distinguish from yourself. Stoicism gave you control, but it never fully explained exhaustion without crisis. There is a kind of collapse that looks like rest, and never gets recognized as collapse at all. Control what is yours. But what if what is yours feels harder to access every day? Even intention starts to erode when everything feels slightly too small to justify effort, yet too constant to ignore. The Stoics were not wrong. They were just describing the peak of human suffering, not the long middle where most lives actually happen. And you live in the middle. Not catastrophe, not triumph, just continuation. What if nothing in your life is actually wrong, except your definition of what counts as damage? Most people are not broken. They are saturated, full of unprocessed smallness that never got acknowledged. And saturation does not explode. It slows you down. It flattens urgency. It makes everything feel slightly further away than it should. Until one day you realize you are not tired from one thing. You are tired from everything that never felt important enough to call a thing. This is what the Stoics almost saw completely, that most of life is not event. It is accumulation disguised as normality. Nothing here is new. That's the uncomfortable part. This feeling isn't a sudden storm that appeared on your horizon. It's the horizon itself. It's the quiet, atmospheric pressure you've been breathing your entire life. A constant you mistook for a variable. You've been searching for a single dramatic cause, a moment of impact you could point to and say, "There, that's what broke me." But there was no single event. There was only the slow, imperceptible turning of the world, a process so gradual you never noticed it was shaping you. This isn't a new battle. It's the same one, fought on a field you are only now beginning to recognize. The discomfort comes from realizing you were never waiting for the fight to begin. You were already in the middle of it and had been all along. It has always been happening. You just didn't have language for it yet. You called it stress, a bad week, or just being tired. You used words that were temporary, that implied an end was in sight. But this feeling wasn't a visitor, it was a resident. It was the hum beneath the floorboards of your life, the one you learned to tune out. Now, the silence is different. The notifications have stopped, the demands have paused, but the feeling remains. This is the moment you realize the noise was never the problem. The noise was a distraction from the quiet weight that was always there. Naming it doesn't make it heavier. It simply makes it real. It gives form to the ghost that has been haunting the edges of your awareness for years. The sea does not need meaning to shape the rock. It only needs time. It doesn't strategize. It doesn't have good days or bad days. It simply returns again and again with the same patient, indifferent force. Each wave is insignificant, a whisper of water against stone. But over millennia, those whispers become a roar that carves canyons. Your life is the same. The small frustrations, the minor disappointments, the tiny compromises, they were your waves. Each one seemed too small to matter, too trivial to resist. But they never stopped coming. And in their relentless return, they have shaped the very bedrock of who you are, eroding your edges without a single grand gesture. And maybe that is the only real shift available to you. Not escaping the weight, but finally recognizing its texture. For so long you tried to outrun it, to fix it, to find a cure for a condition that was never a sickness. You treated it like an enemy to be defeated. But what if it isn't an enemy? What if it's just a fundamental law of your own physics? To recognize its texture is to stop fighting and start feeling. To trace its edges, to understand its grain. It is to sit in the dark, not in defeat, but in observation. You are not healed. You are not broken. You are simply present with what is, and for the first time you are not trying to pretend it is something else. The Stoics gave you strength for endings, but life is mostly not ending. It is continuing. They taught you how to face the fire, how to endure the fall of an empire, how to meet death with dignity. They prepared you for the final act. But they spoke less of the endless second act, the long, unglamorous middle, where nothing happens and everything happens. Life, for most of us, is not a series of dramatic conclusions. It is a relentless, quiet continuation. The sun rises, the sheep move, the horizon remains. The challenge was never just to survive the end, but to endure the endlessness of the process itself. And what you call exhaustion might just be the honest response to a life that has never stopped asking something from you. It's not a failure of your spirit. It's a testament to what you've carried. This feeling isn't a sign that you are weak. It is proof of the strength you have been exerting, quietly and without recognition, for your entire life. You have been a dam holding back a constant river of small demands, tiny pressures, and quiet expectations. The fatigue you feel is the vibration of that immense accumulated pressure. It is the body finally telling a truth the mind was too busy to acknowledge. It is the price of constant engagement in a world that never offers a moment of true rest. So the question was never whether you can survive the big things. It was whether you can finally see what the small things have already done to you. The grand catastrophes are easy to identify, to rally against, but the slow, quiet erosion by 1,000 insignificant moments, that is the invisible force that truly defines a life. It's the steady current, not the sudden flood. And seeing it, truly seeing it for the first time, is not an admission of defeat. It is the beginning of a different kind of strength, one based not on resistance, but on recognition. The final frontier is not out there in the world of grand events. It is right here, in the quiet accumulation of your own ordinary existence.